Hello, what's up, dear YouTube viewers? This World Cup ended up being a really nice tournament for many players, and many players earned themselves an opportunity to go to a top club in Europe. But there were also some others that had a much worse tournament than many people expected them to, and some people are saying they let their teams down. So in this video I will talk about some players who had a worse tournament than many people expected them to. This is just my opinion, maybe there are many others, and I'm not saying they are horrible players, but I am just saying that this tournament ended up being much worse for them than we expected. Okay, so to start off, let's talk about South Korea's Hyunmin Son. Hyunmin Son was the leader of this South Korean team for a long time, and some people expected for this to be his last dance and maybe for him to get South Korea really far. But unfortunately, he didn't do much in all of their 3 games. In the first game against Czechia, he was in the start, and South Korea won that game, but he really wasn't the main person responsible for it. In the second game against Mexico, Mexico scored after a mistake of the South Korean goalkeeper, and Hyunmin Son couldn't score anything. It got so bad up to an extent where in the third game against South Africa, Hyunmin Bo decided not to start Hyunmin Son. Unfortunately, even that didn't help South Korea, and they ended up not doing as good as some people predicted. And Hyunmin Son has also not been so strong at his club level recently. Some people are speculating that maybe it's time for him to finish his career. I still think he could do something in the MLS, but like I said before in another video, I think his club should be over or for his country should be over by now, and he should give spot to more younger players. No disrespect to him, he had absolutely great moments with that country and did what he could for his country, but everyone has to retire sometime. Okay, next up is Patrik Schick from Czechia. Patrik Schick had an absolutely great performance at the 2021 Euros, and he was also one of the reasons why Bayer Leverkusen won the Bundesliga in 2023. And some people were expecting him to carry Czechia in front. However, at the end, he didn't score in any one of Czechia's 3 games. And the team played all the 3 games without him contributing. The only player from the Czech side who really tried to do something was Vladislav Krejci. Maybe, like with all the other players, he can't really focus all 90 minutes. Right now, I think he will still be at Bayer Leverkusen, maybe as a reserve striker, but we'll have to see if he will be able to achieve anything with his national team. Okay, next is Bosnia's Emerdin Demirovic. Now, Edin Dzeko also didn't do much for Bosnia at his probably last World Cup, but I think for him it's forgivable given his age. Demirovic, on the other hand, is still young by football standard and was expected to carry Bosnia forward, but instead he didn't score in either of their 4 games. I still think he has a good potential because his numbers from Stuttgart has been good, but I don't think this World Cup played a good role in his reputation. And now I think that if before other players wanted him, now I don't think they will. Okay, next is Turkey's Kenan Yıldız. Now Arda Güler could be added to this list too, but Arda Güler at least had a good last game against the USA. Yıldız on the other hand didn't score in any of his 3 games. I think I wouldn't say he's a bad player, but again, like I said about Demirovic, I think this World Cup wasn't the best for him. And I think that he will not be worth as higher as he was before this World Cup, and many clubs will question if they should pay such money for him. Okay, next up is Tunisia's Elias Khiri. And many other players from Tunisia too. Tunisia did end up scoring 2 goals, but the player who we most expected didn't score anything. And Khiri didn't contribute in any of Tunisia's 3 matches. Neither did all the other players who got naturalized by Tunisia, such as Rani Khedira, which is unfortunate for them. Okay, next up is the pair of Sweden strikers Alexander Isak and Viktor Gyökeres. I have already given you my opinion on this multiple times, but which you can watch in a couple of other videos that I made, such as summary of the second round and reacting to my pre-World Cup prediction. But I will just say that the plan to utilize both Isak and Gyökeres isn't working. It's kind of like how when PSG tried to utilize all 3, Mbappe, Messi and Neymar, it didn't work. Okay, next is Iranian Mehdi Termi. Iran didn't call on Azmoun and was expected for Tiremi to carry the team forward. But instead, his scores in all 3 of Iran's games were horrible. Just a little bit over 5, for example in the game against Egypt. Now, to be fair, it's wrong to blame everything on him. I think other attackers could have done more because Tiremi is old by football standards and he can't do everything on his own, but he could have still contributed with at least 1 goal. Okay, next is Uruguay's Federico Valverde. Many people were expecting that Valverde would show his class for Uruguay like he did in the Real Madrid vs Manchester City game, where he scored a hat-trick. But instead, he was the source of conflict and rebelled against Bielsa. As a captain, it's not what people expected from him. Captains are usually supposed to be the communication bridge between the coach and other players, but instead Valverde only did worse by not showing off his best results and organizing a revolt against Bielsa and asking him to change his tactics. As a result, Uruguay ended up not making it out of the group stage. And right now, Valverde's reputation is not super good, which is something I already told you about in another video. But right now, people are seeing that he was the source of conflict at both Real Madrid and Uruguay. So So I think it has really ruined his reputation. I'm really hopeful that he can correct it, but for now, his reputation is not as good as it was before. Okay, next up is Senegal's Nicholas Jackson. Now, honestly, many more players could have made it from Senegal, such as Sadio Mane and Kalidou Koulibaly, but like I said about many other players in this video, they are already old. So I think it's forgivable for them. On the other hand, Nicholas Jackson, old by football standards. On the other hand, Nicholas Jackson is still young, and many people were expecting him to be the future of the Senegalese team. And he had some incredible moments, but he couldn't turn them into goals. Perhaps the biggest one was in the game against Norway, when Norway was leading 3-1, I think. Jackson could have scored a goal but didn't. Like with all the other players, I don't wanna hate on him too much, but I think that he will have a chance to correct his reputation, but at this World Cup, he could have done better. Okay, next up is Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo. Now I know many people will hate me for this, those who are Cristiano Ronaldo fans. And like I said before, I'm not trying to bring down Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy. I think what he did in his club career and at the Euros 2016 was admirable, but at this specific World Cup, I think he could have done better. Now I know some people might say I'm hypocritical because I forgive some other older players like Edin Dzeko and Sadio Mane, but want Cristiano Ronaldo to show consistent results. But Edin Dzeko and Sadio Mane don't want to play in every match like Cristiano Ronaldo wants. Cristiano Ronaldo wants to start in every match and wants to be the main star of Portugal at his age, but doesn't play like the main star. He only scored 2 goals against Uzbekistan and 1 penalty against Croatia. Now, like I said before, it would be wrong to blame all of Portugal's problems on him, but I think he absolutely could have done better at this World Cup. And I think he could have scored against at least DR Congo. I don't think Spain was that bad, his match against Spain. I don't think people should blame him for that, because to be fair, not even Kylian Mbappe or Messi scored against Spain. But against teams like DR Congo, he could definitely have done better. Okay, next is Brazil's Igor Thiago. Now, many people were debating about if it's justifiable to pick Igor Thiago over João Pedro. Igor Thiago scored more goals, so some people were arguing that it is justifiable. However, when it came to test, Igor Thiago didn't show much. In the first game against Morocco, Morocco looked like the better team, and after that, Ancelotti decided to bench Thiago. And they beat both Haiti and Scotland without him. In the final for Brazil against Norway, Ancelotti desperately needed that second goal and needed a good attack, but even then he didn't let out Thiago. Before, many top clubs across Europe wanted to buy Igor Thiago, but now I think his value will fall. Okay, next is Germany's Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané started in every one of Germany's games and absolutely didn't show anything. Even many people are questioning why did Nagelsmann choose to start him in the first place, considering that his start in the Turkish Super League were not insane. I think that Leroy Sané could still have been a good bench player, but I don't see why he started in every game and he didn't justify his price. And he didn't justify why he started in every game. He absolutely didn't do anything against Ivory Coast nor Paraguay. Germany ended up losing. Okay, next is Ivory Coast, Yan Diomande. Many people were hyping up Diomande before the tournament, and RB Leipzig wanted more than 100 million for him. And people thought that after the World Cup they would want even more, because Diomande was supposed to be Ivory Coast's main star. But instead, he didn't really show much. His only contribution was an assist against Curacao. And right now, many clubs are questioning if he is worth the high amount that RB Leipzig want for him. I still think he is a good player, but I don't think he is worth the money that RB Leipzig are asking for. Again, next is Jeremy Doku from Belgium. Doku was supposed to be Belgium's main star at this tournament and carry them forward. But he didn't really have any massive contributions. And in the game against Senegal, after he was substituted, Belgium ended up scoring a goal. Now, I wouldn't say it's justifiable to blame him for everything, because Belgium's system was a little bit different than the one at Man City is used to, but I still think that for next World Cup he could do better, and I'm hopeful that he will. Okay, next is Egypt's Omar Marmoush. Now, I was really tempted to add Mohamed Salah to this list, because Mohamed Salah didn't really do much other than that one game against New Zealand, but Mohamed Salah is already old by football standards. Whereas Omar Marmoush was supposed to be Egypt's main star. And instead he didn't score anywhere. Mo Salah at least scored in the game against New Zealand. Marmoush didn't even score then. And considering that he hasn't had the best of season at Manchester City, I think he really needs to think about what to do next with his career. I still think that he could show off some statistic, but he just needs the right club. Okay, finally is Algeria's Lucas Zidane. Zidane missed 7 whole goals. And some of them were really easy to stop, such as one of Messi's goals against Algeria. And many people are questioning if he was the right choice to be Algeria's goalkeeper, and saying that a high name doesn't always translate into the person's success on the football field. I can say that yes, his tournament for Algeria wasn't super good, but I can't say if he's really a bad player, because I haven't watched any of his games for Grenada. Okay, there guys, this is just my opinion, and possibly some of you can add more players on the list. If you want to write their names in the comment, subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumb up. If you dislike it, give it a thumb down. Write comments. And have a good day. Bye, guys.